Right now, at the bottom of the Gulf of Pozzuoli in southern Italy, something is happening that scientists have never seen before in recorded history. The entire seafloor beneath Campi Flegrei, one of the most dangerous supervolcanoes on the planet, has just cracked open. Not in one place, not in two places, across multiple fracture lines, stretching for kilometers beneath the water. Tonight, inside Italy's National Geophysics Institute, alarms are going off that have never gone off before. Scientists are staring at data on their screens, and they cannot explain what they are seeing. 500,000 people are sleeping right now on the shores of Naples. They do not know what is sitting beneath the water below them. They do not know that the ground under that water is no longer stable. They do not know that the cracks forming tonight are the exact same cracks that formed just before the last eruption here, nearly 500 years ago. And here is what makes this different from every warning before. Scientists are now saying this underwater rupture may have already passed the point of no return. This is not a drill. This is not a forecast. This is happening right now. Beneath the water, beneath the city, beneath 500,000 people who have nowhere to run. The seafloor of the Gulf of Pozzuoli. The same water that tourists take boat rides on. The same water that fishermen have been sailing over for generations. That seafloor has cracked. And I don't mean a small fracture. I don't mean a minor geological shift that scientists can monitor calmly from their offices. I mean a rupture across multiple fault lines, spreading beneath the water like a shattered windshield, covering kilometers of the underwater surface of Campi Flegrei. Now I want you to think about something for a second. You've probably heard about Campi Flegrei before. You've probably seen the headlines, the ground rising, the earthquakes, the evacuation warnings. But here's what nobody was telling you until now. 70% of Campi Flegrei is not on land. It's underwater, the real heart of this supervolcano, the most dangerous, most pressurized, most unstable part, has always been sitting beneath that water. And that is exactly where the crack just happened. Italy's official Earthquake and Volcano Monitoring Institute recorded the fracture signals in the early hours of the morning. The data came in so fast and so intense that the monitoring team couldn't process it in real time. And here's the question I need you to sit with right now, because I want you to really think about this and drop your answer in the comments. Did you know that Italy has an emergency evacuation plan for a land eruption? But absolutely no official plan for an underwater eruption from Campi Flegrei. Nothing, zero. That plan does not exist. So if this escalates tonight, what exactly happens to those 500,000 people on that coastline? I want you to understand something about the people who monitor Campi Flegrei for a living. These are not people who panic easily. These are scientists who have spent decades staring at earthquake data, ground deformation maps, gas readings. Dr. Francesca Bianco and her team at INGV have been in continuous emergency meetings since the fracture signals came in. Sources close to the institute are saying that the internal communication has shifted from monitoring situation to active threat assessment. And it's not just Italy. Dr. Christopher Kilburn from University College London, one of the world's leading experts specifically on Campi Flegrei, has been saying for 2 years that the volcano is approaching a threshold that once crossed cannot be reversed. Now here is what I genuinely want to know from you, and I'm asking this seriously. Drop it in the comments. How many of you actually trusted the Italian government when they said the situation was under control last year? And in my experience, when governments go silent about something like this, it is never because everything is fine. It is because they are figuring out what to say without causing mass panic. I'm going to give you some numbers right now, and I need you to really hear these. Not as statistics, not as science class figures, but as a reality that is sitting underneath a city of 500,000 people right now. The seafloor of Campi Flegrei has risen 21 centimeters in the last 2 years alone. 21 centimeters. That does not sound like much until you understand that this same measurement, this exact rate of rise, is what was recorded in the months before the 1538 eruption that created an entirely new mountain in just 2 days. Monte Nuovo, a mountain that did not exist before, and then suddenly did. In 2 days. The underwater fumaroles at Secca del Fumose. These are the superheated vents sitting on the seafloor. Their temperature has crossed 163 degrees Celsius. That water above those vents is essentially boiling from below. CO2 and sulfur emissions from the underwater zone have increased by 40% compared to 2023 data. 40% in less than 2 years. When a volcano starts exhaling this much gas this fast, it means the pressure system below is no longer stable. Now I want to ask you something directly, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments, because this matters. If you lived in Naples right now, and you saw these exact numbers, would you wait for the government to tell you to leave? I need you to stay with me here because this is the part that most channels will never explain to you. And once you understand this, you will never look at this situation the same way again. There are 2 types of volcanic eruptions. The kind you see on documentaries. Lava flowing slowly down a mountain, dramatic but survivable if you have time to move. And then there is the other kind. The kind that happens when superheated magma makes direct contact with seawater. Scientists call it a phreatomagmatic explosion. I call it the scenario that makes every volcanologist lose sleep. When magma touches water, it does not just erupt, it explodes, instantly, violently, with a force that multiplies the destructive power by 10 times compared to a normal eruption. The steam expansion alone is capable of sending debris hundreds of kilometers. And here is the part that genuinely disturbs me, and I think should disturb you too. The last time this exact combination happened in this exact region. Water meeting magma at Campi Flegrei. The shockwave was felt across the entire Mediterranean. Today, 500,000 people live on that coastline. 3 million in the wider Naples region. I want you to drop one word in the comments right now. Just one word. Describing how you feel knowing that the evacuation plan for an underwater eruption here is completely non-existent. There is an elderly woman named Rosa who has lived in Pozzuoli her entire life. 73 years old. Her grandfather lived through the 1970 evacuation when 40,000 people were moved out of this exact area because the ground was rising too fast. Then, there are the fishermen, the men who go out on those waters every single morning before sunrise. Some of them have been reporting for weeks that the water temperature in certain parts of the Gulf feels different. Warmer in places it should not be warm. They are noticing changes in where the fish are moving. Fish naturally flee from areas where underwater heat and gas emissions are increasing. These are not scientists. These are men with 40 years of experience reading that water. And then there are the young families, the people who moved to the Naples coastline because the apartments are affordable and the view is beautiful, and the government told them the monitoring systems would give them enough warning to evacuate safely. I want to ask you something, and I really want your honest answer in the comments. If you found out tonight that the safety plan you were depending on did not actually protect you from the most likely threat, what would you do? Would you trust the system anyway? The early warning infrastructure around Campi Flegrei was designed in the 1980s. Think about that. The sensors, the alert systems, the communication networks that are supposed to tell 500,000 people to evacuate. That technology is 40 years old. INGV scientists have been requesting upgraded underwater monitoring equipment for 3 consecutive years. The funding was approved, then delayed, then partially redirected. As of today, those upgraded sensors are still not fully installed in the most critical underwater fracture zones. And the roads. The evacuation routes out of Pozzuoli and the coastal Naples zones were stress tested in a simulation 2 years ago. The result of that simulation was quietly buried in a government report that very few people read. Now I want you to think about this honestly, and tell me in the comments. If the sensors are outdated, the plan doesn't cover underwater eruption, and the roads lock up in 22 minutes, what is actually protecting those people right now? Here is where we are right now. The seafloor has cracked, the temperatures are climbing, the gases are multiplying. The scientists are alarmed, the government is silent, and the system that was supposed to protect 500,000 people was never built for this exact moment. But here is the thing that keeps me up at night more than any data point I have shared with you today. Campi Flegrei has not erupted in 500 years, and in those 500 years, 3 million people have built their entire lives directly on top of it. Their homes, their history. The crack in that sea floor is not closing, it is not stabilizing. Every reading from tonight points in one direction only. And the question that no scientist, no government official, no monitoring system can answer right now is simply this: how much time is left? I don't know. They don't know. And that uncertainty is the most terrifying part of this entire story. If this video made you think differently about what is happening in Italy right now, subscribe, because this story is not over. And when the next update comes, you need to be here for it.